I want to talk about some what I think personally, and this is not an accusation, I'm just saying this is what I think it is, I think is congressional corruption. Now, as a general rule, I try to just assume every person in Congress is to some degree corrupt, and that way I'm never really that disappointed. But Ilhan Omar is a prime example of this. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Congress people don't make an insane amount of money. I don't know exactly what this salary is. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $170,000 a year, which from where I stand, I think that's a decent salary. I think that's just enough money for anyone to live on. All right. Even in Washington, D.C., where I know things are expensive, that's plenty of money. Now, you're not going to become super duper rich, but you'll be pretty well off doing the job of a congressperson. Now, $170,000 a year, and let's assume you're being financially responsible and putting some into savings, saving money for retirement or what have you, and then you've definitely got bills to pay, so you can subtract that, and most of these people have families, so there's expensive there. So my point is, at $170,000 a year, you shouldn't have a net worth of anywhere north of $1 million unless you're independently wealthy, which is also the case for people in Congress oftentimes, so that's fine. But when you start pulling in figures like $30 million, that starts to raise some questions. And that's where Ilhan Omar was. Her financial reporting or what have you estimated that she was between $6 and $30 million. That's according to CBS News. And now we, after months of scrutinizing and asking her about this, saying, hey, where did you get this money? You're a third worlder, a Somali immigrant who got citizenship and then got into Congress, and now you're worth $30 million. You shouldn't be worth that much. Where's that money coming from? And we had a number of excuses thrown out. Oh, her husband owned a wine business. Her husband did this and that. And essentially this was all like, oh, it was her husband's money. And then she turned around and said, according to CBS News, actually, I never had that money at all. It was just an accounting error. That's crazy. Here's the headline from CBS. Rep. Ilhan Omar amends disclosures blaming initial $30 million on filing error. It was an accountant's mistake. Oh, her accountant fudged the numbers by $30 million. Democratic Rep. Ilhan Omar has amended her financial disclosure forms, sharply reducing the reported value of assets after her initial filing error prompted Republican calls for investigations into her finances. The amended disclosure was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. Omar's original financial disclosure form stated that the companies co-owned by her husband, Tim Maynett, were worth between $6 million and $30 million. This apparent sharp jump in wealth against the couple's 2024 filings triggered scrutiny from the Republican-led House Oversight Committee and President Trump, who threatened investigations. Omar's joint assets with her husbands are now listed as ranging between $18,000 and $95,000, according to the amended filing. That is crazy. That is crazy. How do you mess that up that badly? I have a hard time believing her accountant is that bad at accounting. That is an insane discrepancy. Now, I mean, I imagine a wine business, even a not too well-off wine business, would be worth more than just under $100,000. And they do own a wine business. They've made no bones about that. That is crazy to me. I don't understand how this happens. And maybe that's because I'm not an accountant. If you happen to be and you're listening to me right now, reach out to me on X, @_Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. You can shoot me a DM. You can just leave me a comment. If you have any idea how in the world this could possibly happen, please let me know. If you're listening on the free iHeartRadio app, use the talkback mic. Tell me how in the world this happens. I don't believe this. I just don't believe this. I would have believed you more if you hadn't come back and tried to amend your statements. If you had just said, yeah, I'm worth $30 million and it's legit, I would have believed that more than, oh, my accountant screwed up and I'm actually worth less than fractions of what I said I was. This just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Let's say you're a professional accountant. How in the world do you screw up somebody's net worth on official government filings and paperwork by $30 million? because that's what Ilhan Omar is claiming happened. Her accountant screwed up her paperwork and accidentally reported that she was worth almost $30 million more than she actually was. That's not a small oopsie doopsie. That's not that should have been a 2 and it was a 1, or that should have been a 1 and it was a 3, or something like that. That's $30 million. Okay? How do you screw that up? If you know how a mistake that big happens on official paperwork, let me know. @ Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. Fill me in. And listen, maybe there's a logical explanation to all this. I don't know what it is, and I would like to. All right? And I'm not the only one that would like to. A ton of Americans want to know how Ilhan Omar, the Democrat representative from Somalia, was able to, 1, do this, and 2, get away with it. And that's a legitimate question. But if you ask it, Ilhan Omar gets all snarky and upset at you for just asking what I think should be a very fair question. Here this is. This is a reporter from Lindell TV. That's Mike Lindell of My Pillow fame. And he's got a TV network, I guess. I don't know. But here is one of his reporters asking Ilhan Omar, hey, some people are curious about this. Can you explain what happened here? Can you tell us what exactly is going on? These are confusing numbers. This is a weird discrepancy. And she's just like, no, I don't want to tell you anything. Yeah, take a listen.
Congresswoman Omar, the last time I spoke to you, you said that I was stupid for asking you about your financial disclosure, but there's some discrepancies on there. Would you like to explain that? How did you make such a big mistake on
I still do think you're stupid for asking me anything.
I am?
Yes.
Well, what about the American people who are wondering how you made such a big
I have
mistake?
explained to the American people.
What's the explanation?
I have given them the explanation.
Do you want to tell our viewers? Because they're
I don't want to tell you jack.
Oh.
How about that?
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
God, that video infuriates me. If you want to actually see that instead of just listening to it, by the way, we're recording the video right now as we broadcast. It'll be on X probably 30 to 45 minutes after the show is done. So you can check it out there at _ Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan, and you can watch that for yourself. But oh my gosh, actually, I already explained it already. No, you didn't. You just said your accountant screwed that up. That's not an explanation. All that does is raise more questions. Again, how does your accountant make such a big mistake? How do you not notice it? Like, honestly, even if, okay, let's say I outsource my finances to an accountant. Are you still not even going to put eyes on the filings before she sends them in? Or he sends them in, or whoever? You're not going to have a quick sit down before they put all the paperwork into the system? Just to go over, hey, this is what I have, this is what I'm sending in. Again, I'm not an accountant, but I have a hard time believing a mistake that big could just happen on accident, oopsie, and then on top of that, not be noticed at all. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then, gosh, just how snarky Ilhan Omar was, how entitled she was. You're not entitled to an answer, mind you. She's a public servant. She works for the government. Presumably, most of the money she has comes from your tax dollars, but you're not entitled to an answer. And if you ask her, she's going to look down on you. I already explained it. I don't want to tell you jack crap. What are we doing here?